Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Terri Hill. She is the co-creator of the Emerging Entrepreneurs Academy, where they introduce high school students to entrepreneurship and business ownership. I have Jeff Mangum. He has 20 years experience doing executive media training, usually helping leaders get ready for media appearances. I have Dr. Cole Galloway. He's a recovering academic. He works in social justice, disability, and primarily with babies. And finally, I have Coach MJ Tolan. He is a speaker, author, entrepreneur. He has 35 years experience. He has lived in 12 countries, and he hosts the podcast, I'm Possible. The question I have for you today, what is the difference between being humble and being meek? Coach, you offered to kick us off. Ball's in your court.
Well, I had to because I think when it comes to today, now not 25 years ago, but today, being humble is the sexiest cologne you can wear. It was really important to us when we were younger to say, I've done this, I did this, look what I'm driving, look where I'm living. But I think we've evolved, thankfully, to a place where we're using phrases like pay it forward and helping others, and leaders lift others. And leadership is not about telling others what to do. It's enabling people to do their best and get the best out of themselves. So all of that I embrace in being humble and humility. Meekness, on the other hand, is someone who needs to get some confidence to be able to come out of their shell and at their present state could be feeling a bit helpless. So there's a huge difference for me between the two.
Well, it's funny because I did what Robyn, I think, had implied that she did. I went on and I Googled the definitions of both meek and humble to kind of get an idea of the differentiation. And the meek, at least in the way I interpret it, was very subservient. It was following directions without question. It really does have a negative connotation in a lot of our minds of being meek, because it's almost like blindly following, and you don't actually look for direction or question authority. Where humbleness, and it's funny, Coach, you had mentioned that it's a sexy cologne. And I had found throughout my career, and I was taught and I think it might be a female thing, to be humble and you'll be recognized. Do your work, just do your work, keep focused, and you'll be recognized, and people will, promote you and elevate you without you having to talk about your successes. And I was in sales for 25 years, and I learned that the people who talked about their success actually got advanced a little bit more than the people who were waiting to be recognized. Mm-hmm. So I thought of humbleness as a little bit passive way of, and not saying you have to be braggadocious, but at the same time, there's a fine line between just sitting back and thinking others will help me just because I'm doing the right thing, and when's the point when you kind of say, hey, I'm doing this really cool thing here, and I want to share it with you, and then you start to be recognized for your successes. So I find humbleness, there's definitely a place for it, but at the same time, there's a little bit that you need to kind of speak to what you do well.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on what Terri talked about. I spend most of my time in a power differential environment with the disability community and either the medical model or the public or public policy. And I think Terri's spot on that power differential, when you look like Coach and I and other people that are white males, you have the luxury and privilege of choosing when you are humble. I see communities that are oppressed, and as a go-between, I'm the one that's bragging. They're not so much humble or meek. There's something else there. They're oppressed. They haven't determined how they can identify their problems. They can identify what they want to happen. Like Terri saying, I want to progress in my business. But I think it's not just community organizing where you need someone in the middle to say to people, hey, have you seen what Terri's doing? Hey, have you noticed what Coach is up to? He's following directions, and he's, in this particular project, or Jeff is doing this kind of thing. I think we can help each other. I just have to say that anybody that sort of says that I'm a humble person, I think most of us that have been around are like, what right? It's like humble is something that's sort of bestowed on you. Although Terry's point is very well taken. If you don't have someone to recognize in a power situation to pull you up, well, you can be mistaken as meek.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, this is, I guess, the advantage of going last, because so much good information there. And I guess this is obviously a topic or a question that theologians, philosophers have wrestled with, literally for centuries. And for me, I think it comes down to almost sort of this Augustinian, Marcus Aurelius take on it, and which is that humility really is intended to temper pride or arrogance, which of course is something we all, to some extent, have to deal with. I can just tell you one thing. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of speaking to college students, and I'll often tell them sort of what I consider sort of the three keys to success in the workplace. And I say hard work, and that's sort of an obvious one, right? I'll also say humor, and I don't mean in a jokey sense, but just sort of one's temperament and humor. And then, and I've been saying this for years, is the notion of humility. To be mindful of your actions, and just be humble. And I do make a distinction between humble and meek, and sometimes they are used interchangeably. But I think humility is more a sense of how you sort of place yourself in the world, and how you behave around others. And again, all designed to restrain any tendency toward arrogance or pride, which of course can be very dangerous for the individual and for an organization.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, so I see people try to be humble by using self-deprecating humor, and I don't particularly like that. I feel like that's begging for someone to say, oh no, it's not like that, which is distracting from the whole situation. But I do wonder if the difference between humility and meekness is confidence. The ability to say, I know what I'm good at, and I'm not saying that makes me better than you. Whereas meekness, I feel like, is you're not confident, you don't really know, you're, like you said, Cole, you're just following along. What do you think about the confidence that goes with either meekness or humbleness?
I think that that confidence that can be a part of humility. It does not mean that one is not assertive, or that one is non-confrontational. I mean, sometimes, obviously, in the workplace, there are going to be instances where you do have to, and I put the word confront in quotes, confront someone or confront a situation, but you do it from a position, again, of humility, not like you're going in there shouting at people, trying to overwhelm them, but doing it, for example, on a fact-based basis. Here are my concerns. I'd like to discuss these with you.
I think also confidence comes out in a variety of ways. That confidence is not placing you forward. I think really wise folks, and after getting beaten around on the planet for a couple of decades, like most of us have, you learn that confidence is, as Jeff said, knowing sort of your place. I think knowing your place and seeking another group of primates in the workplace that allows you to find your place. Like Terry said, find the actual place that makes it best. That's such a gift of a workplace, and can allow someone to be humble, can allow someone to grow out of their meekness.
Well, if I can tag on to Cole a little bit, I think what the confidence allows you is that you don't need the outside world to tell you you're doing a good job to know you're doing a good job. And so that confidence allows you to be, actually, it allows you to be humble more easily, I think.
The whole idea here, when I said that this is a sexy perfume, is because some of you probably have had similar experiences where you've met someone who could have been a sports star or a politician or whatever. And after meeting them, you kind of go, wow, what a nice person, how humble they were. And, you expected them to have this kind of airy-fairy kind of attitude. And yet there they were, down to earth and relating to you. And so therefore, that more than anything amplified the confidence that they have. They have the right to be braggadocious, but they're not. And that for me is just like the bomb.
Well, that's a great place for us to end a 10-minute conversation. Thank you so much for having it with me, and I look forward to speaking to each of you again really soon.